Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the North Carolina ABLE Program May 11th Board of Trustees meeting to order. We have an agenda that's been presented to you, and as we call the meeting to order, just to notify all those that are joining us, there'll be a public comment section for organizations or individuals to address the board later in the agenda. Continuing with our initiative to increase our government's transparency, our department has established a policy to record audio and video official meetings like this one and make these meetings available for the department's website and the public's use. They're in an effort also to increase accessibility of public meetings under the authority of DST. We're therefore recording this meeting under this initiative. We have many of our board members who are attending the meeting by phone or GoToMeetings, and as a result, we will do the following in terms of housekeeping. We'll call the roll at the beginning of the meeting. If you must leave the meeting, if you leave the meeting at any time, please announce your departure, and when you re-arrive in the meeting, please announce that also. Likewise, state your name before speaking. We'll take all votes by roll call. And finally, as you already know, at this stage, any communication by text message or any other medium between board members on personal phones regarding the actions or procedures of this meeting will be considered public record to the extent they concern our meeting today. As a reminder, please mute your phone and turn off the video feature until you need to speak. I'm not asking you to turn off the video feature, but mute your phone, that'd be great. That will limit our background noise and outside distractions. And your cooperation is appreciated. And now I'll ask Patty to call the roll.
Treasurer
Jeff. Here.
Catherine Boskin.
Present.
Melinda Blue. Marquita Robertson.
Present.
Chris Egan.
Morning, everyone.
And Tim Smith.
Present.
Okay.
We have a quorum.
Ethics awareness, identification of conflicts or potential conflicts. Board members, thank you for joining, and please take a moment to review the agenda. Does anyone present in the meeting today have an actual potential or the appearance of a conflict of interest regarding matters that are before us? Okay. Without objection, as we go through the meeting and ask for a vote, without objection, anybody who makes a motion or second to that vote for efficiency purposes will be considered a yes vote. Hearing no objection, do I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 9th?
Motion to approve. Katie Boskin.
Thank you.
Second, Chris Egan.
Thank you very much. Motion second being made. Any further discussion regarding the meeting minutes? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Treasurer Falwell.
Aye.
Marquita Robertson.
Aye.
Tim Smith.
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll have an update from Director Jeff Hancock regarding the ABLE Alliance Program Manager Contract update. And just for those in the public who may be listening in, our ABLE program is part of a consortium with 19 other states.
Yes, sir.
19 other states, and the reason we did this is it provides more simplicity and efficiency for our ABLE participants in North Carolina. So with that, you got the floor, Jeff.
Thank you, Treasurer. I just wanted to give an update to the board. As you know, the state of Illinois is the lead for the Alliance in terms of negotiating the contract with the program manager at Census. That work still continues. We did execute an extension to carry us through June the 30th instead of doing these month-to-month extensions to allow more time for those negotiations. They, as I had mentioned in prior our meetings going a little bit slower than we had expected. But as you all may recall, the board did vote to give staff the authority to accept that contract and execute an implementation agreement once the lead contract is signed between the state of Illinois and the program manager of Census. So we expect that the master contract will be in place by the end of June, and then following on to that, we will execute our implementation agreement. Are there any questions?
Well, based on what you know at this point, how do you think it'll bring value to our participants?
So we do expect that we'll see a lower fee as part of that.
It's normally all needs to be said. So, thank you. We'll now turn it back. Any questions regarding agenda item number 4? Okay, hearing none, we'll now go to the budget update, also by Jeff.
Yep. Included in the materials that were sent out earlier, you have the proposed budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year for NC Able. The budget remains the exact same as this year's budget, based on the appropriation of $209,074. You'll see that we do have a little bit of revenue that is derived from the $5 per account, which is about $7,750 for total appropriations and receipts of about $216,000. As well as you can see from the table that the expected proposed expenditures are about $181,000, leaving us with a balance of about $35,000. Are there any questions about the proposed budget for the next fiscal year?
Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Mr. Treasurer,
sorry,
can I interject? I'm sorry, it takes a second to get off mute.
Yeah.
Am I correct in recalling that we lost an administrative person in the last budget cycle?
We did. So in the 2021 budget, there was under the salary and benefits area, we were close to $100,000 on that line item. And so we lost a full FTE associated with the program. That's why you see the salary and benefits now down to $21,000. And so, as you know, we use the supplemental retirement plan staff, being myself and others, to administer this program. And so one of the things you'll see there under the first line item under the expenditures is the reimbursement for the staff to handle the program. So I think maybe to you fully answer your question, we no longer have any full-time associates dedicated from a budget perspective to the NC Able program.
Okay, and are staff able to adequately manage the program without that FTE? I realize that the program is funding portions of the treasurer's staff in the retirement system. Is that working?
It is. We've been able to meet all of the demands for presentations and outreach. Certainly, we still have some additional outreach dollars that we have in the budget, but we feel like we've been able to appropriately manage the program and meet the outreach demands.
Thank you.
Well,
Hi, this is Marquita. I had a question.
yes, and I was going to ask Katie a question.
Okay, I'll wait for Katie. I'll wait.
Katie, what did you say about that last sentence? Katie, was about we're supporting the treasurer's office staff? I'm
No,
sorry.
no. I think, I can see that we're using some of your staff to run this ABLE program, whereas before there was an allocation for a full-time FTE. And as long as that's working, that's fine. It is a change, and I just want to make sure that we're not forgetting that that the ABLE program had an FTE that was tasked with, that was funded and tasked with managing things.
Go ahead. Was that audition ever filled?
So it was, when we had that in the budget, we were still using SRP staff.
Right.
ABLE was reimbursing SRP for the staff time.
Okay.
In the last year's budget, the General Assembly removed or reduced that out of the appropriation.
Which they did for a lot of state agencies in a lot of different places. Do you think our customers are being, I don't feel this way because I've never been more excited about the outreach we're doing with ABLE. But do you feel like that our citizens or taxpayers are being shortchanged with the way that it currently is?
No, I do not. Again, a lot of the lifting from the day-to-day operations is all handled by the program manager of census. And again, we've been able to meet all of the outreach, needs and requests that we've gotten in.
And Katie, I would just say that it's no guarantee of anything, but I'm sure that if organically, if this program grows or explodes, that we would have an opportunity with the advocates we have in the General Assembly to get that position back if we needed it.
That's very helpful to me. And I will say, even looking at the growth in our numbers for the program, you can tell that SRP staff is doing a phenomenal job in making sure that the outreach efforts are successful. So I just want to make sure from Jeff's perspective that he's got the support that he needs to keep the program running as well as it is right now.
Yes, ma'am, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just add to that it's not, people you just mentioned, Katie, are sort of the hub, but they got a lot of spokes in their wheel. And so these partnerships that we are developing organically with ARC and March of Dimes and 12 other different names I can think of right now, they're the ones that are doing organically are doing a lot of lifting for us. And that is, I just think that's a better chassis to build this on. And so I'm very proud of our staff and what we've been able to do. Marquita?
My question was actually answered. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Do I hear a motion to accept the budget?
So moved. This is Katie Boskin.
Thank you very much. And second?
This is Chris Egan. I'll be happy to second that.
Thank you, Chris. Any further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Treasurer Falwell,
Aye.
Marquita Robertson,
Aye.
Tim Smith,
We can't hear you if you're on mute.
Without objection, if Tim gets off mute and wants to vote on this budget, we'll give him an opportunity to do so later in the meeting. One more? Is that it?
That's it.
And it passes?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Great questions. Thank you, board members. Now we'll go to legal matters with Reed Chisholm.
As the board is probably familiar, we share the same investments across the alliance. There's one set of investments for all participating ABLE programs, and we use the same investment policy statement. And as a reminder, Illinois is the lead state in the alliance, and there is an investment subcommittee for the alliance that works with in-house Illinois staff, investment staff, outside consultant Marquette, as well as with the census. And there are a few changes to the investment policy statement that were adopted by the alliance in December. They deal mostly with benchmark indices that are currently used by the managers of the underlying mutual funds and exchange traded funds in our investment options. And while these were adopted by the alliance in December, staff wanted to bring these to the board for formal approval. And staff recommends these changes, and if there are any questions. If I could say one thing, there are additional changes from the annual review that are before the alliance that we will probably bring back to the board at the next meeting. But are there any questions about the investment policy statement?
Hearing none, do I hear a motion to accept the recommendations presented by Reeve regarding the investment policy statement revisions? Do I hear a motion to accept the
I'll make
legal
that
report?
motion. This is Katie Boskin.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second by Tim Smith.
Thank you, Tim. Tim, did you want to vote for the budget a moment ago?
Sorry, I got disconnected there. Yes, I do.
Without objection, we'll count Tim as a yes vote on the budget, and we accept Tim's second of this legal report. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Treasurer Falwell,
Aye.
Marquita Robertson,
Aye.
Chris Egan,
Aye.
thank you. That's it.
Okay, great. We'll now go to item number 7, and Zora and Christie's joining us remotely upstairs. She's driving the ship today, and along with Patty. Thank you, Patty. So Zora, you have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. I have the pleasure today to give.
Can everybody hear Zora okay?
You all hear me?
I can hear her, but I can't see her.
Scoot over quickly.
Come sit up here.
Sorry.
That was-
Great, thank you.
All right. Can you all see me now?
All right.
Yes.
Can you hear her better now? Great.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, I have the pleasure this morning to give a high-level overview of our communication efforts this quarter with the NC ABLE program. So can you advance the slide, please, Patty? One more. Thank you. So continuing on all the positive momentum we had a very impactful and active Q1. So not only have we been engaged with new opportunities, but we also saw a rise in the amount of presentation asks. So in Q1 alone, we actually did 4 different informational presentations, and that's including some with our wonderful partners like the ARC of North Carolina and the Education Children's Assistance Center. And we also did our very first Spanish audience presentation, which was exciting. So all of our efforts seem to be working, as in Q1, we also saw for the very first time the NC ABLE average account balance go over $10,000. And for us, this was a really big milestone that we're very excited about. Next slide, please, Patty. So this year, we were also able to engage in new opportunities. And one of the new opportunities we worked with is a partnership with the graphic arts students at Franklin Academy. And we worked with them to help kick off the Power of 5 campaign statewide. Next slide, please, Patty. So the Power of 5, of course, is celebrating NC Able's 5th year anniversary of account availability. But the campaign is also really used to help encourage people to help spread the word of NC Able to other people. So we held a kickoff event where Treasurer was able to meet with staff and students at Franklin Academy. Also attending was Robert Luddy, who is the founder and chairman of Franklin Academy. And Adam Strom also attended, and he is an NC Able account holder as well as a participant in the ARC of NC's Educated Supported Employment Program. So all of these people came together to really help raise awareness of the NC Able program, as well as celebrate the growth that we've been seeing. So do you mind advancing it 2 slides, Patty? Perfect. So one of the really great things about this new partnership with Franklin Academy is that it's ongoing. And we're very grateful to the staff and the students who have all recognized the important role that they can play in helping to promote the NC Able program. So on this slide, you'll see some of the participants, some of the students who actually created artwork for the campaign. And then at the top of the slide, you can see some of the really, really great artwork that came about the program. And you might also notice that we've displayed it in this room. The content that we're getting from these students, we're able to leverage on our social media channels, as well as our websites. And as you can see, we created posters that we're now able to take with us to different NC Able events. So it's been a really, really great partnership to see. And Patty, if you advance it one more slide, here you'll see some more pictures from the event. And I want to thank the treasurer, not only for the time he took to really help raise awareness of the program, but the time you took, Mr. Treasurer, to really speak with and meet with each student individually. Being there myself, I know it was very impactful. So again, thank you for your time. And Patty, if you don't mind moving one more. So all of our communication efforts continue to be supported by our social media. And again, in Q1, we saw a rise in participation and interaction across all of our channels. And in fact, in Q1, we saw over 9% increase in Facebook views alone over the previous quarter. So that's definitely a positive trend that we want to continue to see. So looking ahead a little bit into the second quarter and beyond, we continue to see an increase in requests for informational presentations. And again, I want to stop and thank the treasurer, not only for all the time you've taken to participate in some of these webinars, but also how you help raise awareness of the program, even at non-NC Able specific events. So I know recently the treasurer attended a March of Dime event to present an NC cash, and he was able to speak about NC Able. So this actually created a new pathway of awareness for us. And we were able to send March of Dimes information and brochures, which they're then distributing to their participants in that population. So again, I think that's a really great example of the power of 5 in the flesh. It's really about organically telling and retelling people about the NC Able program. And I also want to thank everyone on the board. I know this is something you do on a daily basis. And I wanted to specifically call out Cheryl Waffle Flag. Cheryl is a mother of 2 children that had NC Able accounts, and she is also a really tremendous advocate for us. So again, Cheryl, thank you for all that you do. We really appreciate your continued support and for sending new opportunities and groups our way. It's been really helpful to help spread the word. So I know that was quite a bit of information. I'm going to actually stop here and turn it over to you all to see if there's any questions for me.
Any questions from board members?
Zora, thank you for the presentation. I don't have a question, but I did want to second your comments about Treasurer Falwell's commitment to the program. And I just harken back to Dale, your presentation at the fair, I think that raised a lot of awareness for people. And really that's, I think, the best strategy we have here for the Able Alliance is to get the word out so people know this is an option.
Thank you for that comment, and I agree with some things that the treasurer said earlier about really leveraging our partnerships, our strong partnerships that we have to help get the word out. It seems to be a good strategy that we're going to continue.
Thank you for saying that. Some days I feel I'm amphibious, and so you gotta be old as I am to know what that means in North Carolina terms. I was very excited. We presented $10,000 nearly to the March of Dimes of Wilmington out of nccash.com. And I was there in person at WECT. And through COVID, a lot of the March of Dimes local offices have closed and consolidated back into Charlotte as a sort of a hub. And the director drove all the way from Charlotte to Wilmington and was able to cluster some other meetings there. And so my point of saying that is that I was excited and encouraged to give money back to the rightful owners. I was discouraged that, somebody that you would think would be a natural ally of us, like the March of Dimes, she was not aware of Able. So we have a lot of opportunity through folks like the ARC and March of Dimes. There's a lot of other groups out there that we have an opportunity to organically grow this through our efforts. And so, and then the March of Dimes lady found 16 other March of Dimes in North Carolina that also had money in NC Cash. So we're going to try to use as many of those as we can as I go out and present NC Cash to do some more joint events with her across the state. So it's just a way of us getting a lot done in a very short period of time. There's a lot of minutes and hours that went into that Wilmington presentation, but the whole presentation, took 12 to 13 minutes. I mean, it was, once you go in and do these check presentations, talk about Able, the reporter asks you a couple of questions, you're done. So it's, we can't buy this kind of advertising, and we don't pay anything for it. So thank y'all for working with my scheduler and our communications team to kind of set all this up.
I would just like to add on, I know the board probably has not seen any of the outreach presentations, but we are extremely lucky to have Zora on our staff. She does an amazing job delivering these presentations in a very concise, easy to understand format. We've gotten a number of accolades from audience members on how easy it is to understand, and just being able to grasp a program like this in such a short period of time is really meaningful to us. And just want to thank you, Zora, for everything. You do an outstanding job.
Thank you. It's definitely a team effort, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And I did want to mention, when I was visiting with the students who helped design this content, two of the students, these are 18-year-olds, had money at nccash.com. So, people think this is just NC Cash is only for old people who don't cash their checks. There are two people who emailed me after I gave them a card and said they found money either personally or for their family members at nccash.com while I was at the Able event at the Franklin Academy. So.
This is Chris. I didn't want to let us get by this moment without knowing, Secretary, that I was chuckling about the amphibious. I remember that particular interview and comment, and understand and use it sometimes as well. But also really echo again the partnership out there. I was recently involved in a conference with service providers, and we continue to build in some sessions on Able to continue to spread the word. And it is definitely growing. The information and knowledge is out there. I think we're breaking down some of the fears for people who have never saved money they see perceived risk in this still. And so the education around what it means to have an ABLE account and the benefits of that and and reducing the fear of the risk continues to be important. But we're certainly seeing growth and knowledge, and want to echo appreciation for all the partners involved in that effort now and continuing forward.
And piggyback on that, one last comment is that we also use this opportunity to talk about the employment crisis in North Carolina and how individuals with developmental disabilities can, with the right fit, can help employers fill these employment shortages through the ARC. So we're amphibious in a lot of different directions. Sometimes it's NC Cash ABLE, sometimes it's employment crisis ARC, sometimes it's ARC and ABLE. I mean, we put a lot of things in the hopper when we talk about these topics. Thank you. All right. Anything else? Zora, thank you. Does she have anything? Good. We'll now go to Jose, the census, for our administrative update.
Jose, are you on mute? Jose, are you with us?
Hi, good morning. Can you folks hear me?
We can now.
Excellent. Good morning. Thank you so much, Treasurer Falwell, esteemed board members and guests. Again, my name is Jose Gamboa. I'm the National ABLE Alliance Relationship Manager through Ascensus. I'm joined by my healthy team members here, Paul Soupe, he's the Director of Investment Management, and also Molly Peterson, who is our Senior Client Relationship Administrator. So we appreciate the opportunity to present the NC ABLE plan data. So I'm going to take a quick pause here just to make sure, because I'm dialed in, I'm also looking at the screen via WebEx. I'm sorry, forgive me, GoToMeeting, but can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Ms. Hall, if you wouldn't mind, if we can move to the next slide, please. And the one after that, yes, perfect. Thank you so much. So this is total assets of the NC ABLE program. This is as of March 31st, 2022. Again, we're looking at a program here 5 years in, total assets under management, $16,231,000, north of that. And please keep in mind here, folks, I think what's important to understand and see here is again, as many folks have mentioned prior to our presentation, again, boots on the ground, grassroots, leveraging social media, strategic partnerships, and we see this, phenomenal growth from the NC ABLE program. Keep in mind, it's not as if NC ABLE started, with a conversion and we're already starting with assets under management. Really, the starting point was zero. And again, the NC ABLE program has done a phenomenal job in growing it to $16,231,000. So congratulations to you. When in a subsequent slide, you'll see out of the 19 Alliance members, NC ABLE lands somewhere around sixth, I believe, of all of the other Alliance members of total assets under management. So really tremendous. Next slide here. This is assets by investment option. And as you could see here, a good amount of the assets being invested for the NC ABLE program is in the checking option, right? And this is not necessarily an outlier. The NC ABLE program is not necessarily an outlier. This is a trend that we continuously see across all 19 members. And we realize and recognize that NC ABLE program offers a very unique investment portfolio, right, of these investment options, which are more typical, for example, growth, aggressive, moderate, things of that nature. But you've also have a solution here that has an embedded checking option, which we, as you could see, is being leveraged by our NC-able participants. But also, what's also promising here, and I love this slide, is the fact that yes, we do have participants that are using NC-able for transactional activity, for day-to-day, but we also have NC-able participants that are also interested in growing their assets, right, in saving, right? So when you look at how many, the percentage of total assets under growth option, aggressive option, moderately aggressive option, you're looking at basically doing the quick math here, probably 45% plus of total assets under management. So that's pretty promising. Is to say, hey, listen, yes, NC-able participants absolutely are using it for the transactional feature, but also using it to save for hopefully future investments. If we look to the next slide, Ms. Hall, please, contributions by month. Again, we see ebbs and flows. I would imagine a lot of the December, January folks are really folks taking advantage of the annual max contribution limit, right? Just like myself, I'm a bit of a procrastinator, so maybe we're seeing a lot of contributions happening around the December timeframe just to make sure we hit that 16K. And then, of course, we do have the go-getters. We do have the go-getters come January, and they're saying, hey, listen, the new, I can now contribute another 16K to the account. So, we see this trend a lot, which is, hey, listen, catch up at the end, and then also kind of do our front investing at the beginning of the year. So, all great activity. And then if we move on to the next slide, Ms. Hall, if you wouldn't mind, contributions by type. Excellent. Thank you so much. And again, here's something that's really important and glad to see is our NC-able participants are heavy users of web, right? These are folks who are very efficient online. And again, that's why it's fantastic to hear that Zora and team are using social media, using the web, because they are. I mean, we see as in terms of online enrollments, a majority come through, enrollments, a majority go through the online portal. Right, so let's call it what it is. I mean, NC-able participants use the internet. So as you can see here, the most contribution by dollar amount here is through our electronic one-time transfer of contributions, which consists of 50% of total assets contributed. And then, of course, we see UGIF contributions. It's fantastic. Folks are taking advantage of that. 10% or just shy of 10% is that reoccurring contributions. And then, of course, we also see folks taking advantage of payroll and then also rollover contributions as well. Great. I'm going to take a quick pause here for the board. Any questions? All right, perfect. Moving on to contributions by age group. Next slide, Ms. Hall, please. Perfect, page 7 here. And as you can see here, contributions by age group, we have 2021 versus 2022. And I think one important item to really highlight here, right? And I think this is important to see, and this is year to date, so that's why you'll see 2021 slightly inflated because we're only 3 months into the year when reporting this data. And once again, it's an indication, right, by age group that NC-able has a investment vehicle that's serving NC-able participants across the board, right? It's not as if we're looking at a 529 chart here where we'll see a great deal of contributions by age group. Definitely, it's going to be front loaded. We're going to see a ton of contributions, from 0 to 18. This is able, and we recognize that. And what's fantastic about this slide is, hey, we are seeing NC-able participants across the board in the state of North Carolina leveraging and using this no matter your age. Right, so I love this because it basically says, hey, we're covering hopefully the full population of participants. The next slide, I'm going to echo the same sentiments. Ms. Hall, please. Yeah, distributions by month. Again, we're going to see this ebb and flow. I'm still, and again, forgive me here, I'm coming from the business side, and Paul, this is probably more Paul's forte, but I'm curious, knowing the market fluctuations and things that are happening outside of our world, what that has as in terms of an impact for all ABLE programs, quite frankly, right? Will we see a dip? Will we see an increase, or will it be almost steady Eddie, so to speak, right? I'm hoping to see that it is essentially bear proof, so to speak, figuratively speaking, because once again, we have a program here that supports transactional activity, helping them save and also spend on a day-to-day. Great. Moving on to slide 9, Ms. Hall, thank you so much. And these are the distributions by type that we see. Again, you're looking at third-party distributions. Really, leading the way is withdrawal at bank, aka using the checking option to use your debit card or a paper check to withdraw funds. So no surprise here. No sort of trends that that would alarm us per se. And then distributions by age group, slide 10. Once again, if you similar to the contributions by age group, once again, we notice and see that across the board, we're serving NC ABLE participants, starting from age day 1 all the way through 66 and plus. So to me, I think what we're saying here is you have a remarkable solution for the NC ABLE participants currently and those who want to invest in the future. Perfect. And then moving on to slide 11, Ms. Hall, please.
Can I interrupt you just a moment, Jose?
No interruption at all. Please do so. Yes. Yes, sir.
I apologize to board members. I'm on the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency board, and that meeting started just a few minutes ago, and there's important things going on in housing and people not having housing with inflation, and I need to join that board meeting. So if it's okay, I'm going to hand the gavel over to Tom to continue with the meeting, and just want to appreciate everybody participating today. ABLE is important to me, but people having housing is also important to me, and they're going through a presentation about some of the stresses that especially our lower fixed income people are facing today. So thank you for understanding.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, Jose.
Okay, just want to make sure. Excellent. And here we see new accounts by month, always promising to see, again, towards the end of the year, a lot of folks enrolling into the plan. New accounts year to date for 2022 is 125, which is fantastic. And then total plan accounts as of March 31st, 1,698. And Ms. Hall, if you wouldn't mind, please move on to the next slide. And then here we have accounts by disability type, again, as of Q1 2022. It's just really a breakdown of the disability type and the total assets under management and the average account size based on the disability description. Now, really, ultimately, just in the spirit of transparency, this disability description are basically what's the descriptions that we're required to use when we're submitting our tax forms. It's also the descriptions that is used on the enrollment form, and then also what we call behind the login pages. All right. Moving on to slide 13, and then here we have accounts by eligibility and custodian type, Q1 2022. As we could see here, the leading account type is account owner who is eligible for supplemental security, SSI income benefits. The second being they've established disability certification, and then finally the account owner is eligible for Social Security disability benefits. When you look at the actual custodial type breakdown, again, it's fantastic. This is fantastic to see that a lot of individual ABLE account owners are actually enrolling themselves, right? In total, we have 690 accounts here, followed by authorized individuals as an adult, and then also a promising number here, which is opening an account of a minor and using a parent guardian 404. Again, this is a promising number because ultimately we know from the get these minors are being exposed to ABLE. They know how ABLE works. Hopefully those conversations are happening at home, so that way when they reach the age of majority, they could continue to use their account, and we could transfer essentially that management to them, and they're able to use it for the rest of their lives. So next slide, Ms. Hall, please. And here we have account closures by month. Really leading the way is the closed and active accounts. Year to date, there's 36 since inception, 392. Some are just closed full disbursement. Only 6 really closed at the customer request, and then invalid potentially are items where maybe they did not pass know your customer kind of process. But again, closed inactive accounts is leading account closures by month. Hopefully, with the adoption of the hierarchy at the end of November, or really in the middle of November, hopefully we'd love to see this number dip. Excellent. And then moving to Align's assets rankings as of March 31st, 2022. As I had mentioned previously, when you look at the all of the 19 members here, to all 19 folks, NC ABLE is right there at the top. 10. We're looking at 16,230,000. They comprise of 5.69% of the assets under management under the Align's umbrella. And again, it's really just an incredible job. So kudos to the NC ABLE team. Before passing it on to Paul Soupe, I just want to make sure there were no questions in regards to the data that we just presented.
Any questions from board members for Mr. Gamboa? All right, thank you. We can proceed.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Paul, can you hear me? And Paul's going to review the fund performance.
And Nick, everyone can hear me as well?
Yes.
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 Perfect. Thank you so much. So welcome everyone. Good morning to everyone. Just want to, a lot of this performance you might have seen last week at the due diligence meeting, but we want to kind of bring a little bit of a perspective of just kind of the NC ABLE assets and the growth in the plan here on this first page. So we've seen obviously some great growth that Jose kind of alluded to before, the 41% growth in assets year over year within the NC ABLE assets, and that's a raise of about $4.7 million over the past quarter. It's grown about 5.5%. So even in kind of turbulent markets where equities and fixed income kind of faced a few headwinds, we still saw asset growth. So that's good to see. In comparison to kind of National ABLE as a whole, we like to break down, the target risk options or so, like the top 4, the most aggressive options, and compare that to the bottom 3 options to see where they are as far as our participants being a little bit more conservative or a little bit more aggressive. So when we look at National ABLE as a whole, it's a split of about 52% to 48%, being the 52% is in that lower, more conservative portfolio. So that moderately conservative, that conservative portfolio in that checking account holds about 52% of the assets for the National ABLE as a whole. Within the NC ABLE plan, it's the opposite. So the top 4 more aggressive funds hold about 59% of the assets, and only 41% are in those 3 conservative funds. So between the 18 states and DC, NC ABLE actually has the highest amount in that kind of top 4 aggressive portfolios. So really kind of the most aggressive asset allocation throughout kind of the whole consortium. So that's interesting to see, and that hopefully means that they're kind of stickier assets and longer term assets, and will help the plan grow on a quarter by quarter basis, even in these even in kind of tight markets like this. And of course, looking at the markets with kind of new COVID strains coming up and all the time, and the Russia invasion of Ukraine taking a little bit longer than was expected at the beginning. Supply chain issues kind of continue to kind of persist, and so that's kind of making the inflation, which was assumed to be a little bit more short term, to kind of continue to be past that transitory phase and becoming more of a sustained problem. So the Fed has had to kind of raise rates a couple of times within this past few months. So in the first quarter, we raised it so with that, that's trying to fight the inflation that we're seeing within these markets, and that's having an effect on both equities and the fixed income side. So as we kind of roll through the next couple of slides, we'll see how it affects kind of those subsectors in the allocations of these portfolios. But what we do see is kind of the quarterly performance here. We saw the more aggressive portfolios, the more equity-heavy portfolios had a bigger loss due to those equities having taken bigger losses than the fixed income side. And you know, generally in the overall market, we saw pretty negative losses on both fixed income and equities, but it was more on the longer term fixed income side, which we kind of make a little bit more conservative positioning on that fixed income side. So we see kind of that normal distribution of returns when the markets are down. Generally, the more aggressive risk or riskier assets, you can see a little bit higher losses, and that's what we see in the portfolios here. But if we could switch to the next slide, which is the underlying equity side. So on the first, yeah, you're right there. Yep, perfect. Thank you. So here we have kind of the 5 equity underlying funds, and we have the top 2 are basically the U.S. equity funds that we use. So the Vanguard Institutional Index covers that large cap stocks. The Vanguard Extended Markets covers the small cap and mid cap stocks within the U.S. equity economy or so. And you can see how the effect that we have with inflation or so. The inflation and the rise in interest rates, it affects those small and mid cap stocks a little bit more than the large cap stocks. So obviously, the small and mid cap companies, they're going to be more affected by those raising interest rates. They have a little less flexibility in how they manage their company and keep operations going. They take a little bit more debt on. So the raise in interest rates affects them more, and that's why you see a little bit higher losses within the quarter for the small and mid cap side. On the fixed international side, we see obviously the issues that we had on the international side was definitely with the Russian and Ukraine situation, the Russian invasion there, and U.S. sanctions that were put on Russia. The NATO countries go along with those sanctions, and that means that all the energy that those developing countries within Europe and Asia usually get their oil and natural gas from Russia. They stopped taking those, and it had to be supplemented by kind of other countries. So you did see kind of Russia get really devalued. It was only about 2% of that emerging market portfolio, but it was kind of offset by other emerging market countries that are kind of energy producers, such as Brazil. Brazil was up about 36% for the quarter. as they help kind of fill the gap that Russia would generally provide with their energy. Brazil was able to kind of advance in this past quarter. So the emerging markets actually ended up outperforming those developed markets, which especially within Europe and Asia were kind of hurt by the higher gas prices, and higher energy prices. And finally, on the real estate side, this has been one of the top producers or top performers within the last year over year. It did have a pullback in the quarter, but year over year, it's, I believe, the second highest sector in the U.S. economy. So it's still bringing good diversification to our portfolios. There's a kind of overweight within these portfolios because we have that dedicated space to real estate, but that's generally helped these portfolios, especially over the last year and a half, with that extra allocation towards real estate, rising inflation, having a kind of solid commodity or price or a solid property, hard assets, generally helps in inflation every time. So it's good to have within the portfolios during that time. If we could move ahead to the fixed income. And I think we're actually on there right now. Perfect.
Hey, Patty,
So
this
on
is
the-
Marquita. I need to hop off.
Sorry,
Just wanted to announce
Marquita.
that I was leaving. Yeah, I just wanted to announce that I need to leave.
Marquita, I think
She's leaving.
she's leaving. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Sir, go ahead,
Great.
Paul.
Sure, thanks. So in the underlying performance here on the fixed income side, as I kind of mentioned before, we take a little bit more conservative. So we have our kind of normal intermediate term bond, which is by that Vanguard total bond market. That's usually a little higher duration. We try to make these portfolios a little bit more conservative because of the kind of conservative nature of the overall basis of participants within these plans, and generally, taking out money a little sooner. So we'd like to have the conservative side to the fixed income. So we use shorter durations to kind of balance off that intermediate term bond. We also use a shorter duration within that inflationary product. So times like this, short-term inflation product will basically just be looking at that inflation rate and doesn't kind of mix it with interest rate sensitivity. So it gives a little bit more dedicated space to really help inflationary times to just track inflation. And also having that international bond space as well, that diversification there. What we see is that U.S. kind of Federal Reserve seems to try to use their tools a little bit more often than the international banks do. So you get something like the ECB, which is the European Central Bank. They haven't raised their rates in 10 years, and they've been negative for the last 8 years, since about 2014. They originally said they wouldn't even raise rates this year in 2022. They've kind of backtracked a little bit there and said they might move up a quarter point in the second half of this year, but they usually move a little bit slower in raising rates. But generally, with that kind of slower raising rates, you'll see a little bit slower raise in a little, less interest rate sensitivity. So in rising rates markets in the U.S., they'll perform a little bit better on the international side when they're not rising as quickly. So having that diversification with shorter term bonds and international bonds kind of helps this become a little bit more conservative, especially in a rising rate market. So that's why we kind of have those positioned in this situation. Any questions on any of these market activity or equity side or fixed income side?
Questions for Paul? Paul, did you have anything else?
Nope, that was it for me.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from board members from a census? All right, don't think we have any public comment. We don't have anybody that signed up for public comment. Do any of the, before we adjourn, do any board members want to say anything?
Just kudos to the team. I'm sorry, this is Katie Boskin. Kudos to the team for your efforts in managing through a very difficult economic time, but also in raising awareness for this program. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so our next meeting is August 10th at 9:30. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. This is Katie Boskin.
Thank you. A second?
Second, this is Chris Egan.
All right, thank you.
Thomas Causey,
Yes.
Tim Smith,
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Meeting's adjourned.
Treasurer Falwell, yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.